Senator, thank you for being with us.
Edie, good to be with you again.
What's the most important thing we can find out about Dr. Gates today during these hearings?
The most important thing, Edie, is to get an understanding of his views about the direction forward in Iraq, what we can do to convince the Iraqis to make the hard decisions that only they can make to deal with the underlying causes of the violence in their country. And so he's talking with us about that as we're speaking.
We heard some of the questioning going back to the origin of 9/11 attackers, where and how they would go about finding Osama bin Laden. When you take a look at the confirmation hearing for him and really the role that he is going to have to fill here, is it a role that you think is more important to have a real opinion about what we do with Iraq, or a broader role of how we deal with this war on terror?
Well, both are important, Edie. It can't be an either-or choice. But anytime we have soldiers dying in real time, obviously that has to be a top priority. But the broader priority, as you point out, is the longer-term struggle against radical Islam and suicidal terror attacks. And that means we need to look at his views about how do we stabilize Afghanistan, the place from which we were attacked. What about al-Qaeda and the other worldwide terror networks? What about Iran, Edie, which I think is one of the most pressing national security threats to our country? What can we do to restrain their nuclear ambitions? So we have to focus on Iraq, absolutely, but the broader war on terror is something we can't pass either.
Bluntly, when you listen to hearings like this, do you ever learn anything?
Well, you can. Mr. Gates was asked the question if he thought we were winning in Iraq. He gave a one-word answer. He said, no. I thought that was a moment of refreshing candor. You don't see that very often in Washington. It's too bad. And matter of fact, when I heard that from him and whether he thought that the key to all of this was the political will of the Iraqis to decide to live in one country together, he said, yes, absolutely. Ultimately, they have to be the ones who are going to solve this. We can't do this for them. So listening to that, you get a sense of the man, his judgment, his thoughtfulness, his candor, those kinds of things. And Edie, one of the questions I'm going to ask him when my term comes is, I'm going to say, Dr. Gates, you seem like a very reasonable man. You look like, he said he was willing to consider all the options, Edie, about Iraq. My question to him is going to be, do you have the trust and confidence of the president? Will he listen to you? Will he take your advice seriously? Because ultimately, it's the president, not Mr. Gates, who will make these decisions.
But, I hear a lot of the questioning. They talk about the options, and I assume that the president, as well as everybody else, would like to get this thing done and over with as soon as possible. So if they hear any option, and it sounds good, they're going to be open to it. So is there anything new that he could possibly be hearing from any source who hasn't already been heard?
Well, I'm sure he'll listen to all the options, and I'm sure the president wants this to end well, Edie. The question is whether he understands what it will take to give us the best chance of it ending well. That's the key question here. And so the president needs people around him of experience and judgment whose opinions he will take to heart. And the president made a statement, and I think I know what he was trying to say, but he said, look, we were going to continue down the path in Iraq, and as long as it took, even if only the First Lady and his dog were still by his side. We've got to be willing to have a little more open mind than that to consider other options that have a better chance of success. So that's the key here. Does he trust Bob Gates? Is he really willing to listen to his advice? And that's what I'm going to ask him.
All right. Senator Bayh, we'll be waiting to hear from you as well in these hearings. Thank you for spending time with us right now.
Thank you, Edie.
And coming up in just a little bit, we'll also talk to Chris.